But say I wanted to make the blue is too blue and I want to go a little bit more green with it. I can just pull this down and adjust just the blues in that. You see it changing?
I didn't know you could do that.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. So like, say I want his yellow pajamas to be more saturated.
Well, where'd you learn this? Who'd you steal this from?
I used to teach Photoshop and I needed to fill 4 hours a day. So I learned every button in Photoshop, but I found some great ones. This one's amazing. And so you can micro adjust.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker.
I'm Lee White.
And Will Terry is not with us today. He's actually homesick. So if you want to wish him well wishes for him to get well sooner, go ahead and do that. We have a special treat today. Kelsey Rodriguez is our interview for today, and she is a firecracker, man. She knows what she's doing on the marketing and community building front around her art. What did you think of the interview, Lee?
I learned more from this interview probably than any interview we've done, because the social media, everybody's so confused by it. I mean, we're all making art all day, and this person has figured it out, and she's so smart about it and so sharp. I'm very, very impressed.
Very impressed. I want you to go check out, while you're listening to this today, check out her website. It's kelseyrodriguez.com. And on there, you're going to see a link to her YouTube channel and also to her Discord. She has a very active Discord with lots of, just a lot of people sharing art and having discussions and whatnot on there. We get into Discord in our conversation today. And then her YouTube channel is all about like the career side of art. Like how do you make money with digital products? How do you schedule out your time so that you're working effectively? It's really cool stuff. She's she's on her path of art, and she's inviting us to join her with it. She's an oil painter by trade, but this comes by way of being a political science major in college. And as she gets into it at the beginning, she loves strategy. She loves figuring, out how things work and how all these different pieces work together. And so that's why she's, I think, done so well, like with her YouTube channel and building this community out of her, like, I wouldn't say they're followers. They're more like, brothers and sisters, like joining her.
Yeah, friends. I mean, she brought everybody along for the ride,
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No. I mean, let's dive into it. She's super interesting.
Kelsey, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, of course.
I want to just first off, just say, I think you're great. And I think what you're doing is smart and impressive with YouTube and focusing on community. I've watched not all of your videos, but a bunch of them to really get like a vibe for how you approach the business side of art. And a lot of our listeners are really into like, how do I make this work, this art thing work? And so I just wanted to kick this off, like talking to you, what drove you to take this path that you're on right now, both in art, but also this approach to, I'm going to do a YouTube channel, I'm going to do a Discord, I'm going to really focus on community.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a little bit about my background, I guess. I'm a very strategic thinker. I went to college for political science, actually, in like security studies. So I was a TA for some classes that like ran war game simulations and stuff. And so like a lot of my brain is just like, let me think like long-term policy and like, I don't know, 5-year, 10-year plans or whatever. So by default, I'm a very like kind of long-term focused person. And I like to think of myself as fairly ambitious. So I have a lot of goals, and my grandmother who raised me, she always took that very seriously. Like whenever I had like some idea of like starting a business, like selling, I don't know, embroidery hoops on Etsy or whatever, she would take that seriously. And she got her MBA a couple of years ago. My grandma did. And so my business kind of mindset and focus definitely comes from her, because she always like took all of my ideas very seriously and educated me a lot on like how to think about business and marketing and how to research things and educate yourself. But yeah, so a lot of my focus when it comes to that strategy is because of my political science background and the way that I was raised. But yeah, I think overall though, I am just like, I'm an anxious person by default. And whenever I want to do something or like approach a certain thing in my career or have my life be a certain way, and I go down that path, my immediate focus is like, okay, how can I eliminate all possible avenues for failure, right? Like, how can I make it like so difficult for me to fail that success is almost inevitable? And that's a big part of the reason why I gave YouTube such a big consideration when I was thinking about how I wanted my art career to be. I tried art galleries and art fairs and stuff, and it wasn't really for me, or at least at the time, I was a full-time college student and I didn't have like the time to make that connection in those worlds that like would have actually helped me out. But YouTube was this thing that, I mean, here you have essentially this kind of investment portfolio social media platform where like every single new video you make is like this entry and this passive income like portfolio stream that like once you're monetized, like you have this huge library of content. Think of like screenwriters making royalties like 10 years on the line after, you know, How I Met Your Mother is off the air and like they're doing reruns. You still get paid for that. Like that's amazing. And the idea that I could share my journey as an artist and make these videos and earn money from that, like earn money from my own marketing efforts, that was just like, as soon as I realized I could do that, I was like, that's the thing. That's what I have to do.
So
that's cool.
So you were backing up a little bit. You're in school, but you're not. When did you start studying art? And were you already kind of wanting to be an illustrator artist? And then you had the light bulb of, oh, this stuff needs to be moved to, my process needs to be moved to YouTube? Or how did that evolution take place? Did the art come first, or were you already making videos and then it became about your art?
I was already making art. I've always been really interested in art. I took a lot of oil painting, drawing, art history classes in college, and I had always been like kind of the art kid in high school. And it had always been a thing that I was very interested in. For a long time, I thought that just like I couldn't make money as an artist. My mom tried and it had never worked out for her. Like her entire life, she has never been able to make that her job. And so I had this idea, like kind of a starving artist mindset that like, okay, like I have to approach this as a hobby and not as a career. And then I got really into acrylic abstract art when I was, I think a sophomore in college. And I got into galleries and stuff from that. And then I started to realize like, okay, I could actually make this into a career. And when the pandemic hit, all of my political science internships like weren't going to happen. Right. And so I was stuck at home and I was thinking to myself like, okay, do I want to spend all of this time thinking about an honors thesis, or do I want to start a YouTube channel instead, which could maybe actually like be like a job after graduation, where political science might not give me a job after graduation because I don't have, you know, the internships and the experience to go down the path that I wanted to go down. So May of 2020, I posted my first video, and then I don't know, the rest is history.
Wow. That is so recent.
Yeah.
I can't believe the growth. I'm a little bit horrified and embarrassed about my own performance because I already had a YouTube channel in 2020 and I think I've gained 20 followers, but I only posted one more video since 2020. So that's probably why.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Consistency is everything.
But I'm just saying that was really recent. Like you were, this is all like new sort of. I mean, like within the past 3 years.
It has been a really big change, like getting my brain used to the idea of receiving constant feedback from strangers on the internet. That was a big shift. Yeah.
Okay.
So help us crack the code for YouTube then. Like what's the secret to YouTube success? And I guess with that, who are your YouTube mentors, whether you've actually been mentored by someone or you look at these YouTubers or these channels as like inspiration?
Yeah. Oh my God. There are so many amazing creators that I look up to. Like Ali Abdaal is a great one. Catherine Manning's earlier content before she shifted into more vlogging was very much the early blueprint for my channel. She actually, Catherine Manning, inspired me to start my channel. She made a bunch of videos in 2020 and 2021 that were all focused around marketing, kind of like the creator economy, which is a term that we know now, but wasn't a thing then. And that was kind of the early blueprint. And then Valerie Lynn, Ashley Kang, they've all come on to the scene the recent past couple of years. And they're big inspirations for my channel too. But all in all, I think I've always struggled with this, but I really have a hard time finding creators who are like covering the same stuff that I'm covering in the art niche. Like there just aren't a lot of other people talking about business and marketing as it relates to artists in like a not pyramid scheme MLM-y kind of way. And I would desperately like to see more people do that kind of thing. Like Mew Tripled is getting more into that. She has a lot of experience when it comes to the animation and storyboarding side of things, just very much not my wheelhouse, but she talks a lot about that. But yeah, I mean, okay, when it comes to YouTube and how to actually grow a following, I would say that there's a lot that goes into it. The most important thing is, I mean, one, to make quality content. Like you need to have like the camera, the audio, the production quality, like how to speak concisely and get a message across and like all of that stuff. Like that's like the requisite for success, like the prerequisite for success. But once you have all of that under your belt, you need to start focusing more on making content for an audience and providing value and solving problems. Providing value can happen in lots of different ways, right? Like Mr. Beast provides value the same way that educational cooking channels provide value, but it's just a different kind of value, like entertainment or education, and trying to find where you best fit, like your strength in how to provide value is, I think, the most important part. For me, I've learned through just like trial and error and experience and audience feedback that I am really good at just like teaching people stuff and breaking things down. And so many commenters and viewers and people on my Discord server and patrons have told me this, that I've just leaned into it a little bit more. And I've tried to position myself as someone who can try lots of things and just tell you like, here's how it went, or I tried XYZ thing, like, let me show you the results. And that has worked really well for me. But I mean, yeah, I'm more than happy to dive into like the specific nitty gritties when it comes to content strategy and like thumbnails and titles and stuff if you want to.
I do want to. This is a little bit selfish, I think, because I guess here's one of my questions is how do you? I have had a YouTube channel for 10 years, right? And I've done 100 videos some in those 10 years. And it averages out like 1 year, the most videos I ever made were like 30 videos. And then some years it's been 2 videos, right? So I guess my question is I always feel like I'm kind of like wasting my time sometimes. Maybe that's just like a personal thing, but how do you like get over that? Like I have a work week. I have to make art and, answer emails and do all this stuff. Oh, and I got to throw in 8 hours or 14 hours to like craft a video as well. And sometimes
let me rephrase your question, Jake, because as I'm looking at her work and looking at the YouTube channel, stuff like that, I know you and we're professional illustrators, and then we try to shoehorn in this other stuff. But our main thing is making illustrated content. And so my question to Kelsey is, how do you define yourself? Are you a content creator first? Like that's your actual job. And then your audience is sort of joining you in this artistic journey? Or are you an artist first, like we are, and then you're doing videos to promote that? Do you see the difference?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. There's absolutely a difference. I think that I am a content creator first. Absolutely. Will not deny that. But I think that my content will not exist without the art. And so artist is like just very intertwined with that content creator identity. Like I'm not like a video essay or like leftist bread tuber, you know, like my art and like that experience of having this business and running my art career is very much intertwined with the content. And like, sure, like the art career would not experience the same level of success without the content, but they are like kind of inexorably intertwined like that.
Okay. So I guess for me then it's like, because I did have this sort of epiphany at one point where it's like, in 10 years, do I want to have 10 graphic novels or like 100 YouTube videos, right? And it's sort of like this either or thing. Like I could put all my time into making videos, or I could put all my time into like making books. And the epiphany was, you got to kind of do both. like for every time you make something, there has to be this balance of marketing it, like sharing it with people. And by marketing, I mean like sharing it.
The reason that hers works better than ours does is that I'm looking at like her work, beautiful landscapes and scenery and stuff like that. But it's not NDA. Like our stuff is sort of like I'm working on a book right now. Like you guys are on one screen and on my other screen is a 32-page picture book that I can't show anybody. And it's going to still take 6 more weeks of just the drawings that cannot be shared. I can't do a video on like, hey, watch me draw this thumbnail for this book because I can't talk about it yet. But hers is 1-to-1. Like if you're painting something that day, you can make a video on it that night and show it. Like, so it's a little more immediate for her content than for an illustrator whose work is going to be released in the future, if that makes sense. Am I reading that correct?
I would kind of recenter that point, though. I totally get what you're saying, but you also have experience, industry connections, and knowledge that I don't, that you can leverage to grow your following on social media. Like you are a far more skilled, experienced artist than I am that has lots of connections in the industry, right? Like you said it yourself, like you've worked in the industry for forever and you have all of this stuff that's worked in NDA. Maybe you can't show your art directly right now, but like you are underselling yourself if you think that that's only like the only thing that you have to offer. There are plenty of channels like Light Ponderings and Adam Duff, 2 of my great friends. Light Ponderings worked, I think, for Naughty Dog Studios. They've worked on just tons of really cool projects like Westworld. He used to work for Pixar. He dabbled a little bit in like just some really great stuff. He's like an expert when it comes to color and light and doing these lighting studies. And what Jeremy does right now, what Light Ponderings does right now, is he just teaches stuff on his YouTube channel. He just is like, okay, like, let me show you how this works. So let me talk about what it was like to work in the film and animation industry and all of these really cool jobs and these positions and like these sets that I worked on with like literal movie stars and celebrities that like young artists are so interested in hearing about. That's not a thing that I can talk about, but that's the thing that you guys can talk about.
I just had a huge light bulb go on that I feel so stupid. That was a great answer, Kelsey. That was really good because I just realized I'm thinking like the thing I'm doing today is the thing that I need to put out tonight on as a video, but that's not I mean, I've done 27 books. Like I've got so much content that I could say, oh, look at the storytelling of this piece or how color theory was used like this in all the other content, instead of thinking that my current image is what needs to be shown at the same time. I'm so stupid. I need to leave this meeting. I need to go make a video.
In your guys' case, your audience, probably like people who are like 5 years behind you in terms of their career, right? When you're making content, think of like, okay, if that person were to be in front of me right now, what would they want to pick my brain about? Or like, what would I want to pick someone else's brain about 5 years ago? What information would have been really valuable for me then that would have like catapulted my career into the stratosphere or made my art just like so much better? And that's content that like I can't make. Someone who, you know, is 3 years behind me can't make. Someone who's an expert at portrait painting can't make. Like that is experience that is unique to you and knowledge that like you have this amazing monopoly over that you should be taking advantage of. Yeah.
You just shifted my whole view of this whole thing. That's amazing.
You're welcome.
So let me make sure I got this straight. Like you want to start a YouTube channel. First, you need to figure out like who you're making the videos for and what your sort of your angle is in that. Like what you're like, for you, it's teaching and helping. And like, you want to give advice to someone who's 3 or 5 years behind you, career advice on here's how you make it go. I mean, you look at your videos, it's like, here's how you make $15,000 from digital products. Here's how I'm going to make $150,000 this year in my art business. And it's like essentially geared towards that. So you just kind of got to find like, what's the problem that needs to be solved? Who are these people that need that problem solved? And then every day you sit down and make a video, just think, I got to make a video for that person.
Yeah. So the whole premise behind my channel is, okay, like I want to become an artist. Like I was not a full-time artist when I started my channel, but I am going to chronicle the entire journey to getting there. I'm going to leave all of these breadcrumbs behind. You can watch the very first video that I ever made on my YouTube channel. It's trash. I don't recommend it, but you can see like the entire journey from start to finish of everything that I've done to get where I am today. And I distill that experience down for folks. I talk about like, okay, here's what I did 6 months ago that's helping me right now that you can learn from because I just did it and it just worked. So like, try it out. And that strategy might not work for everyone per se, but I think for artists who want to become educators but can't necessarily show their art or are still working on developing their skills, having all of that business and marketing and career kind of advice that you can share with folks is really valuable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, how do you then approach, like say next week a video's got to come out, right? What's the process from initial idea to that video coming out?
That depends a lot.
Okay.
There are different kinds of videos. Like I'll tell you about the one that I filmed this week.
Okay.
So the video that I filmed this week was all about what to do when your art career is not taking off. Like you have this feeling in your gut of like, oh my God, like, is this working? Nothing that I'm trying is panning out. Like I feel just this desperation, like the feeling that you were talking about earlier of like, I could put out a book or I could make a YouTube video. Like what's the most important thing? I'm not getting a return on my investment. Like why should I keep doing this? But that feeling like writ large transferred to the art career as a whole, per se. Like for someone who is 2 years behind me that they're trying, but it's not working. And I was in that position. I know what that's like. It took a lot of work to get to where I am right now. And just sharing that advice of like, okay, this isn't working. Here are all of the reasons why this could be happening and what you can do about it. And that video was very much like, I am going to write down some notes in Notion and I'm going to talk to a camera for like 45 minutes and then edit whatever footage comes out of that. That is kind of unique in terms of my content. Like normally my content has more moving parts. I have to try things in advance. It requires like, I don't know, like weeks of planning, or I have to pull up financial statements and create like graphics or whatever, or make a painting, and that can take a long time. But I prefer to have a lot of things going at once. Like right now I'm working on a Van Gogh still life. I'm filming that. And then I have kind of just all of these staggered videos in terms of the effort that they take. So like a video where I have a painting showing the whole time might take me 2 weeks, not because I'm working actively on that video for the whole 2 weeks, because I have to just like paint the painting and that just takes a while, right? But while I'm painting that painting, I can also work on other stuff during that 2 weeks, like filming a video like the one I just talked about where I'm just talking to the camera. That one is much easier to produce. It has just a far lower kind of production involvement. Like there's not a lot of moving parts, like I said. I can just crank that out in a day, where kind of the name of the game is just like kind of staggering that content in terms of like effort. I have a whole video on like how I do that. But that's kind of how it works for me. But in terms of ideation, I often, when I'm feeling totally uninspired, I take a look at the content that's been working for me over the past couple months. And I think to myself, okay, like how can I make more stuff like this? Or what is a very similar kind of video that I could make that's still like providing value in a similar direction to this? Or what about these videos worked so well in terms of presentation or content, or like, I don't know, whatever made that stand out?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So when you sit down to, I guess, edit a video, is that just like, today's my editing video day, and if I get that done, like I'm happy? or is it something that you like come back to? I'll work on a little bit here, then I'll go do a bunch of other stuff, come back to it, work on a little bit more. Is it like a focus thing or kind of a spread out thing, I guess?
So I usually have one specific goal for a day. So for example, my goal for one day might be, okay, I'm going to film a video and edit it and get it out and ready to go today. So I'm going to spend, I don't know, like an hour scripting. I probably already have a vague idea of what I want the video to be like. And then I'm going to film it whenever the sun is not super bright behind the windows behind me, maybe like 3 p.m. And then before 3 p.m., maybe I'll script the video. I'll work on some paintings. Like, I don't know, I'll just like bide my time, fill that with productive tasks until I can actually record the video. And then I record it. That takes maybe an hour, probably not, probably less than an hour. And then from, I don't know, like 4 to 7, I'm editing that, getting it ready to go, sending off the sponsor, making the thumbnail.
That's cool. So like when it's all said and done, what, it's a 8-hour video production day? Yeah, essentially.
Less than that if I send it off to my editor, which I just hired 2 editors and I'm very excited about working with them. But
that's cool. That's cool. Who does your thumbnails? Do you do those yourself?
I do my own thumbnails. Yeah.
Okay. What's the trick about thumbnails? Like, what's the secret sauce there?
So, I've done a lot of A/B testing. So in your YouTube studio, in the advanced kind of mode in the Creator Studio, you can do these things called groups. They're like kind of like playlists, but they're not playlists. They're just like bins you can sort content into, and then you can compare them. So I have 2 groups, thumbnails with faces, thumbnails without faces for my own content. And then I can compare the CTR over the course of, I don't know, the past 9 months, and then see, okay, which one has worked better. But I mean, insert whatever 2 variables you want, right? Like thumbnails with red text and those with white text, and see what works better. And right now I'm thinking about, okay, like, does my audience prefer titles that are totally lowercase, or titles with title case, like capitalization in like the in the title, or like, I don't know, whatever variable you want, and then you can run that test and like get some data on how you should actually move forward from there. But in terms of how I actually do thumbnails, like once I have that data,
hold on.
Like
So just stop. So like, is this why sometimes I'll see somebody launch a video and be like, oh, I'll watch that later, and when I come back to watch it later, so there's a different thumbnail? Like,
that's part of the reason.
Okay.
One reason is that maybe just like that thumbnail was not performing, and they decided that it might work better with this thumbnail instead. I actually strongly recommend that you change your thumbnails if a video is not working. Like, why not? It's like, that's literally, it's free.
I tried that once with a video because I had this long interview with someone, and and it never did perform well, but it was a great interview.
Yeah.
And so I just changed the thumbnail. I put a picture of the guy I was interviewing on it, and changed the title of the video, and all of a sudden I got like 1,000 new views on it, and I was like, well, shoot, I should probably go back through all of them.
Packaging is literally everything. I mean, think of like the products that you buy in the store, like the books that you buy at like Barnes & Noble or whatever. Like the cover draws you in, even if you want to tell yourself that it doesn't. I changed a thumbnail and a title for a video that I'd made in October of 2021. And 6 months later, it just skyrocketed in terms of views. It catapulted my channel's growth. Like, that is the reason that I am here today, because of that one video. That video before the end of this year will hit beyond 1 million views, but it had sat dead for like 6 months after upload. But because I changed the title and the thumbnail, it suddenly skyrocketed.
What was the original title and thumbnail, and what'd you change it to? Oh God,
I don't remember, but it's my most popular video ever. You can see it on my channel right now, like the current version. It was a pretty minor change.
How to find your art style fast in 3 easy steps. Yeah, really. Yep. That's great. And your thumbnail is really cool. It's like you're like astonished in it.
So obviously the faces worked in your A/B testing because you're using the face. I mean, so what percentage increase did the face bring to views?
I don't actually know the specific number. I can tell you right now, though. Let me check.
Well, that's amazing that you actually have the number. I was like thinking you're going to say, oh, it's a lot more. But if you actually have the number, that's interesting.
Yeah, I can tell you the number. All right, thumbnails with faces compared to thumbnails without faces. Let's see. I'll show you the CTR, the impressions click-through rate. So For thumbnails with faces, the impressions click-through rate average across 67 videos is 4.3%. Thumbnails without faces, the average CTR for 51 videos is 2.8%, which might not seem insane, but let's look at the views. The views for thumbnails with faces across 67 videos is 189,000, whereas thumbnails without faces only has 17,000 views, and that's over the past 28 days.
Massive difference.
Massive difference. Yeah, like tenfold.
People love faces. Right. They love your face.
It works for me, but right. I mean, that could change per channel, you know? But yeah, I mean, in terms of like how I make my thumbnails, I just kind of like have this basic formula of I'll take a screenshot from the video, which I don't know. I personally like my camera. I like the photos that it takes. I love the videos that it takes. And so I just do like a screen cap, like just a screen cap, and that's it. And then I add some text, some stuff in the background. I don't know, takes like 15 minutes. Right.
It's working. So you mentioned working with sponsors. So is that like a measure in audience eyes? Is that a measure of like success? Like this YouTube channel has a Audible sponsoring it or Squarespace sponsoring it versus a YouTube channel that doesn't ever use sponsors. Like, does that matter to the success of the channel or?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, it'll matter for your bottom line for sure. Like sponsors will pay you money. But I mean, some viewers think of it as a point of pride or like, this is actually convenient for me because I hate it when a video is interrupted halfway through because of a Squarespace ad read that I've listened to 2,000 million times already because Squarespace sponsors everyone, right? They're sponsoring me for the whole year, which I'm really excited about. But yeah,
that's incredible.
So, I mean, I don't think the audience really like thinks about it that much of like whether, I don't know, XYZ channel has sponsors on it or not. I bet they don't even notice. But if you're excited about sponsors, take sponsors. If you're not excited about sponsors, then don't do it. But yeah, I mean, sponsors are a really valuable source of income for me because YouTube AdSense fluctuates wildly. Yeah.
What? How do you get a sponsor? How'd you go down that route?
Yeah. So once I reached a certain point, they mostly started reaching out to me, and I try to be like really nice to everyone that I work with, right? Like I try to like go above and beyond and treat them like a client, like you would like, you know, someone who's commissioning you for an illustration. Like, how can I make this campaign best suit your needs? Like, what do you want out of this sponsored video? Do you want people to click on this link? Do you want people to just like know that you exist? What do you want me to highlight about your product or your feature or whatever? And this is even easier for me because I usually like the brands that I'm working with, right? And like, I think that they're really well suited for my audience, can actually provide value for them. I try not to work with people who like I wouldn't use or that I think that their stuff isn't like going to be good, because my audience's goodwill and my reputation is like really the most valuable financial asset that I have at the end of the day. Like, that reputation is just everything. So yeah, I mean, they usually reach out to me, and then I try and just like make the best possible video for them, the best possible ad read. I try and just like pick sponsors that I can speak about honestly, because in my mind, like, I am the best salesperson when I genuinely believe in what I'm saying. And I think that comes across really obviously to my audience. And yeah, I mean, they pay me money, and then we work together again, maybe 2-3 months later, and it kind of just goes down from there. You can pitch brands though. If there's a brand that you want to work with that you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, like I could provide so much value to them. Like, I have all this experience and they could really use maybe not like the views that I have on my channel, but like I can make video testimonials they could run on social ads or like whatever. That could be really valuable for them. I convinced a brand, New Matches Academy. They had never worked with an influencer before, but like with 6 months of negotiation, I convinced them to work with me for like 2 videos for the first time. And yeah, I was like, what do you want out of this? Like, how can I best suit your needs? And a lot of the time when you're working with a brand, it's not just the video, like the sponsored video that they can get out of it. It's the usage rights. It's, I don't know, like do we have the rights to cut up this video and post it on our TikTok or our Instagram Reels or whatever? And sometimes I even just like send brands like photos of me using whatever product they sent me. Like I have a table easel that I use all the time that a brand sent me, and I send them photos whenever we do a deal together, being like, all right, like here is this piece of art you can put on your Amazon listing or whatever.
So do these sponsors pay a flat fee, or is it based on views, or how does the finances work there?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can set up that deal. Sometimes you can do a CPM based deal, which is based on views, like you were saying. So that would usually be like you have a flat rate, and then that has a certain amount of views like guaranteed to it. And once you pass that view count per 1,000 views, you make a certain extra thing in the first 60 days, let's say. So maybe they'll pay you like $2,000 upfront, but for every 1,000 views past 50K, you earn an extra $15. But if the video does, 200K in the first 60 days, that means that you earn like bank on top of that.
That's cool.
And that maximizes your total return while like minimizing their risk. Yeah. But usually I do a flat rate deal, which is based on like just the average of my video's performance over the past couple weeks.
So then you're not like nickel and diming and like figuring out, okay, did this many views? Let's change the invoice to this. And that makes sense. It's just easier on everybody. That's cool. So I guess, do you like handle all these negotiations yourself, or do you work with a rep or something like that? Is that something that...
Yeah, I do it all myself.
Okay.
I do it all myself. In the first quarter of this year, I have received more sponsorship offers than I ever have before, which was kind of overwhelming at first. But normally, like I'll send out my rates and I'll be like, it costs this much to get this amount of time. Here, what I usually offer, like, let me know if you want to talk more about this. And then if they'll say yes or they'll say no, we'll go from there. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it works. The negotiation's pretty easy. Like, a brand has very seldom like been super mean or upfront or rude or like been very transparently trying to like take advantage of me. That's not usually how it goes. These people are just like employees at a company like anyone else is, and they have a certain budget that they have to spend per quarter, and like that's their job. But
and
yeah,
it's
so
like, hey, go find
a rep or anything.
Yeah, go find 20 videos for us to sponsor, and come back and here's your budget. That's super interesting. So for we'll just go with my channel's 77,000 subscribers on YouTube. Do they care about that, or do they more care about like the last 10 videos, how many views they got?
The last 10 videos, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. The last 10 videos, your average views, that is a far more accurate indicator of the current health of your channel than your subscriber count. Because if you think about it, like a channel could have 1 million subs, but they haven't posted in 2 years. And maybe they post again, but the video only does like 10K. That brand's not going to pay like Mr. Beast rates for that kind of channel. You know what I mean? Like the return on investment, the social proof isn't there.
So if I were to want to go out and get sponsors, I would like, and I say it me, but I'm like, this is for Lee, this is for whoever's listening. Essentially, like maybe set a goal to make 10 videos that combined make 1 million views, right? Something like that. And then your negotiating power is much more, like you just have much more negotiating power, right?
Like the more stable your view count is and the higher views you obviously get on your channel, the more advantage you'll have in a negotiation. Absolutely.
Gotcha. What is a healthy channel? What is a good goal to set for yourself for, in a year's time?
I don't know. It depends. I think it depends like what you want out of YouTube. Like I think everyone's opinion is going to be a little different. Like if I was, I don't know, like a lawn care company in St. Louis, Missouri, my idea of a healthy YouTube channel would be focused on like not necessarily like the AdSense or like, can I pull, I don't know, like a celebrity on my channel or whatever. It would be how many leads am I getting in my St. Louis, Missouri lawn care, like, thing, my business every week. And that would be focused on that. And so I wouldn't need to get 1 million subscribers. I would need to get probably like a strategy more focused around ranking in search and doing lots of local advertisements and kind of like, showing off my lawn care, like whatever I have, like those skills. And so the goals are different depending on what kind of business you want to have.
So yeah, that goes back to like the initial thing. Figure out the problem you're trying to solve, figure out the people you're trying to reach, and then also figure out what success means to you on your YouTube channel. Is it AdSense? Is it sponsors? Is it going to be a money-making generating thing, or is it leads, or is it book sales? You're just helping me like really piece this all together. Now I noticed on your website. Oh, Lee, did you have a question really quick?
Oh, I've got a million questions, but
okay.
The main one that I want to know, it's going to be a little bit more elementary because see, Jake this is a good interview to do because you guys are both experts at this stuff. And I am where most of our audience probably is. By the way, I just opened up my YouTube channel that I haven't added anything to in 3 years, but I do have a series of videos there. And the one that has a face on it has 4 times the views of any of the other ones.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I never would have noticed that. But my question is sort of from a beginner point of view. I'm just following like I said earlier, I'm just making books. And then I'm sort of doing social media, quote unquote, on the side in a very, very generic way. And none of it has hit. I was watching your video on why you're leaving Patreon, which was very interesting to me. And also that you quit Instagram. And so I just wonder, as somebody who's coming into it with a small audience, I have 20,000 followers on Instagram, not so much on YouTube, but you're talking about a Discord. And so, I mean, you can't do all of that stuff. I mean, so you have a very specific sort of take on why YouTube is sort of the best avenue to go. And then you're adding your Discord server that's sort of a subscription kind of, it almost operates like Patreon, except for more community based.
Yeah.
And I'll just follow up.
Free. If you want extra perks, you get more stuff. Yeah.
Right. And so is your reason for leaving Instagram sort of the same as why you left Patreon, which was there wasn't enough community engagement? And can you talk a little bit about the different platforms? I guess that's a long-winded way of asking that question.
Yeah. I just don't have patience for posting every day. I hate the idea of my life revolving around like, oh my God, I have to post this thing at 1 p.m. And because Instagram's API like hates the idea of anyone ever scheduling a post up until recently, but this has been their policy for like 10 years up until now. I hate that idea, which is like viscerally, it's so unappealing to me. And the idea of having to worry about like hashtags and like filming like 90-second videos, just like, no, thank you. If that's what it means, like succeed as an artist, like I will get a 9-to-5 job. I work at Starbucks. Like I will just not do that. And so that's my opinion. Other artists love Instagram. They love TikTok. They like love doing all like the little things that I have no patience for. And that's awesome for them. I'm someone that likes to take my time. I like to make projects that like kind of have an impact. And I hate the idea of making something and then just like when it dies, it's just like dead forever. And that's how it works on Instagram. You're just like, you're sending stuff into the void is how I think about it. Like you are getting very kind of short-term gratification and then nothing will come out of it years in the line. But like YouTube is the opposite. Like you're going to get some amount of short-term gratification for sure. But the strength of a YouTube video lies in its like evergreen lifespan. And that's how I try to think about my content. Like how can I make videos that will actually be still informational and valuable like 3 years down the line? Because that's like, that's like where the value is. And that's what I like about it. But yeah, I quit Instagram because I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. I wasn't having a good time. And if I'm not having a good time, I'm not having a good time. Like,
right. Why do it?
And I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to put in my all. And I like YouTube. I like the platform. I like making YouTube videos. I like
and the community there.
Up.
Like the comments on YouTube videos are so much more thought through and like it's a conversation than it ever is on any other social media platform.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
And I love the strategy, and the data they give you is unreal on YouTube. Like the analytics, oh my God, that like feeds like my little like lizard hindbrain of like wanting to see the numbers go up and like liking like shiny big things. Like being able to craft a strategy around data and like doing that A/B testing, that is just like, I am so into that. And I just like the idea. Like I like camera gear and vintage lenses and all that good stuff. And the reason that I quit Patreon, total shift in topic, is just because the engagement wasn't there for me. And I felt like I was just like Instagram sending stuff into the void. And I get why there is lower engagement on Patreon. It totally makes sense to me. But I was spending all of this energy like fulfilling rewards for Patreon when I had this little Discord server that I spent time in, no one was paying me for, it was free to join. And the community there and the friends that I have made have been so valuable. Like the discussion is such high quality. It's like leagues above YouTube comments. It has such just a great base of information, and the community there, like just the vibes, immaculate. And the same thing was just so starkly not true on Patreon. And so I thought to myself, like, why am I spending all of this energy when I'm not really getting the thing that feeds my creative soul out of it? And switching over to Discord from Patreon, it was a big hit in revenue, but Patreon had never been a big revenue stream for me anyway. But I mean, the cut is better. Like Discord takes less than Patreon did, as all of my evidence suggests, and the financial statements and stuff. Like Patreon says they only take a certain percentage, but with like payment platform fees and stuff, it's always more than they say. And Discord was just like half that, basically. And
so you make money on Discord by somebody subscribes to like a better tier similar to Patreon.
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Just like Patreon. It's like just like Patreon, but it's on Discord, and it's embedded in an already vibrant, free to join, active community. So it's like you're integrating the best parts of both of these things, but you only have to go to one website. And that was so cut and dry for me of the advantages there that it was a no-brainer to make the switch. And I'm still working on like marketing that Discord premium membership and like figuring out, okay, like what tiers are most valuable. But for me, I'm thinking about the long term, and the long term for me is I want to keep things as integrated as possible and as valuable as possible for like the consumer, the customer. And if I was going to pay money for something and like go on this website, I want to have the best experience possible. And the community on my Discord server is
How do I get to your
Discord?
How do I get to your Discord server? I want to check it out.
Oh yeah,
I'm
sure.
on there right now. While we're talking, I'm scrolling through.
Well, because my question is, because I have a Patreon, and here's the thing about Patreon that we've noticed is that and it seems like you said the same thing. It goes up and then it just flatlines, and everybody's has done that. I don't care, except unless you're like lowish or something like that, where you just have crazy numbers.
Right.
So did you bring your Patreon audience over to the Discord? You say, hey, I'm shutting this down, but come over here and you can get something similar?
Did. Only a fraction of the people made the switch, which was fine. But yeah, I mean, I make more money. I've made up for that loss in revenue in terms of sponsorships like many times over now. So it doesn't really matter to me that like I had that revenue dip, but like no one was engaging with the posts that I was making on Patreon. Maybe they were watching and listening to them. I'm sure they were, but they weren't liking, they weren't commenting. I had no way of knowing if like the things that I was making were actually being appreciated. And I do get that feedback on Discord. And so even though the audience there right now is substantially less than my Patreon had been before, it's, I think, more fulfilling for me personally, like creatively.
That's awesome. Okay, wait. So how do I get to the Discord server? Because I have Discord.
She put a link in our chat.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh, so I can just
It'll
go there.
take you through an onboarding procedure actually, so you can pick what channels you want to see and which ones you don't, so you're not overwhelmed when you first join.
So that's how do you like? I've spent some time in Discord, but I've been in some pretty like complicated Discords where it's like this, and then you get access to these tiers, and make sure you sign in here and do like, how do you know how to do all that Discord stuff? Is there like tutorials online for that, or do you just pick
Google.
it up? Okay.
Google's my best friend. At a certain point, the Discord server achieved like Discord partner status, which means it's like one of the top communities on Discord, and like at certain, like as far as like certain metrics go. And so I got in touch with some Discord employees, and they like made it so that I had access to certain early access features in the US, which is how I got access to those server subscriptions and the onboarding procedure and all that stuff ahead of anyone else in the US. Which is really cool. And they even sent me like a little like plastic figurine that I have somewhere in my apartment. I don't know where it is right now, but it was like a little Christmas gift. But yeah, so yeah, it's just like Google. Also, I have really great mods. My moderators on my Discord server are amazing. They're so experienced, and they just like make everything much easier.
How'd you find them?
So I have an XP system in my server where when you send messages, you gain a certain amount of XP that will like essentially like just, it's for a kind of a ranking or like a leaderboard in terms of who's most active. And whenever I'm looking for a new moderator, I look at, okay, like who are the top people in this leaderboard? Do I, value this person's experience? Or have they been a good contributor in chat? All of that kind of stuff. I think I'm like number 4 or 5 right now on the leaderboard, which is disappointing. I should be higher up in that list. But yeah, whenever I'm looking for new mods, I just pick from that leaderboard and try to find someone who I think will have good judgment.
Okay. And then like, what's their incentive to be a mod? Is it just, I love this community, I want to give back? Do you pay your mods?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't pay them right now. I don't think they'd even want to be paid. I think like a lot of moderators on the internet just like don't want to, like that would kind of ruin the experience for them, or like add an increased sense of expectations.
Right.
Yeah. And they don't want that, which is like fair. So yeah, I mean, whenever they're active, they like keep an eye out for people violating the rules in chat. This is pretty rare. The Discord server does not have a ton of rules. We have rules concerning self-promotion. We don't allow NFTs or like Web3 discussion just because no, thank you.
It always turns violent.
Yeah. It's like too, I don't know, too culture war-y, too scammy, whatever.
Yeah.
And we keep an eye out for people like being mean, all that stuff, their accounts getting hacked, dropping like scam links or whatever. We also have rules concerning NSFW art and just like monitoring that situation, flagging stuff when it's relevant. Yeah, very rarely do we have rule breakers, but it's just a matter of like, okay, timeout, ban, or like, explaining why this is not okay to do, and then going from there. It's very low maintenance actually.
Okay, I've got some questions on your Discord. So if I signed up for the, let's say the middle tier, it's $10 a month, $9.99 a month. And it offers some exclusive videos. It says 1 to 3 exclusive videos per month on this tier. Those are completely separate from YouTube, right?
They are actually unlisted YouTube links. They are unlisted YouTube links that I post on a Discord forum, which is kind of like the best thing that I could come up with that's similar to a Patreon feed. And I can categorize them with like certain tags, and you can like sort them as well based on certain characteristics. So like the exclusive videos that I do fall into categories like Art Biz 101 or casual chats or interviews or tutorials or, productivity tips or whatever. And it's kind of the same thing that Patreon does. It's very similar.
But it's not overlap. It's not overlapping content. It's just for the Discord.
Yes.
So how many videos total are you doing on average per month for all these different venues?
Yeah. So let's see. I have an average somewhere between 2 to 4 videos every month goes live on my main YouTube channel. And then we have 1 audio newsletter that goes live for Discord premium members and 1 exclusive video. Sometimes these are bloopers. Sometimes they're just like me chatting to the camera. Like the shot will be just like this. And I'll just like set up my like little webcam recording software and just like go, and it'll be a very casual chat because I'm a person that has a lot of opinions and I can kind of like ramble about whatever, and they like that. And then That is, I think, all of the stuff that I'm doing right now. So that's like 4 things, anywhere between 3 to 5 videos per month, 1 podcast kind of thing. That's an audio newsletter. And then I also have an email newsletter that goes out about once a week. And I'm also trying to start a vlog channel that will be somewhere between 2, maybe 1 to 3 uploads a month, which is why I had to hire video editors, because once I started to do that math, I realized like that's a lot of stuff. I need some help. Of stuff.
Right. And then at any point are you like, is it once a quarter, once a year? Do you kind of just like take a self audit and be like, is this too much? Is it not enough? Am I doing what I want to do? Like, how often do you sit back and look at that and decide I got to change course a little bit here?
Yeah. If I think when I'm about to have a panic attack, then I have to think about like, am I doing too much? And that happens like whenever it happens. But until then, it's like, all right, like how can I do all the stuff that I should be doing? And like, how can I take advantage of this burst of productivity that I'm currently feeling? But I had been sick for the past 2.5 weeks before we jumped to this call because we had to reschedule a couple times. But yeah, that made me realize that I should probably start filming things in advance a little bit.
I was just going to interject. Did the honey lemonade, did you try out the honey lemonade?
Actually, yeah, okay. I tried it. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, thank you.
It's good, huh?
I used some like honey that I got from the farmer's market. It was quite tasty. Yeah, thank you for the recommendation. But yeah, so like I said earlier, going back to like the difficulty of certain kinds of videos, that's like really where that becomes really important, right? Every video cannot be the same amount of work. I have to make some kind of lower effort, quote unquote, content to fill in that gap so that I'm not like driving myself literally insane by cranking out so many things every single week.
Right. Yeah. I'm one of Loish's patrons, and she does a handful of videos every month as well. And they really are like, they wouldn't do great on YouTube if it wasn't for Loish. Like, it's just like, hey, how's it going? Here's 2 hours of me drawing, and she might be talking, she might not. And sometimes she does talking videos and whatnot. So you really, I think as long as you're sort of delivering on the promise, like, hey, I'm giving you something this month, then people are pretty much, honestly, people sometimes don't even have time to watch everything that they pay for. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I ran a poll and a good chunk of people responded that when they pay for artists' Patreons or whatever, they don't even like care about the rewards. They care about just like supporting someone, which is a really difficult thing to wrap my mind around because my brain is so focused on providing value for an audience that I have a very difficult time grasping like someone would just pay me for like nothing, like the stuff that I'm already doing. That really doesn't make sense.
I posted all these videos to my Patreon yesterday. I want to see how many. One view.
Yeah, it's rough.
All these videos. I posted 5 of them. That's the first 5 parts of that new figure drawing class that I did, Jake. And the most videos was 8 views.
8 views. Well, those 8 people. Sometimes we get caught up in making something for everyone when we just need to be making everything for someone. And in that case, it might be 8 people. How do you deal? I was going to ask you, like, how do you deal with negative comments? Sometimes there is trash on YouTube that like shows up in the comments and stuff like that.
I made a whole video on that one time when I
saw that
really
video.
Got to me,
yeah,
and then
I saw that video
because it was getting a little bit too popular, and I didn't know how I felt about that.
And I also saw your conversation with Adam Duff too, because you guys kind of got into that as well a little bit. But I'm just curious for our audience how you deal with that.
Yeah, it's rough. Like being a woman on the internet. Not gonna lie, it's not like the most fun, thrilling experience that will really benefit your mental health like all of the time. People just like have a lot of opinions. And I had this one guy one time, very early on in my YouTube career, that left this very detailed comment on like all of the things that he thought were wrong with my teeth. Like not like they're yellow, but like you need this specific surgery to correct like this very slight like tilt in like your left molar or something.
Oh wow! So he hyper focused.
Yeah, has he seen a Casey Neistat
so
video?
bizarre.
That guy's got some gnarly teeth.
Yeah, and like I was just like thinking about that, and I was like, he must have watched like so many videos and like gone back so many times to make this list. But yeah, I mean, there are people like that, and there are people that like will just interpret you in like the least faithful way possible. Like they will give you just like the benefit. Help, young man. Sorry, my cat is on my desk now.
Hey,
his name is Spooky. He's a demon. But
adorable.
yeah, I mean,
Lee's got a couple cats.
Like that. He's a handful. But sorry. Anyway, there are people that are going to leave mean comments, and they're going to do that kind of regardless. I will every so often like add more nuance than I am initially inclined to when I have particularly hot takes about things. And sometimes I'll avoid making certain videos because I don't want to like generate discourse. Like,
gotcha.
Someone might make a video on like drama in the art community, and like I think they have the worst take known to man ever, and their opinion is just like garbage, and I really want to like say something about it, but I just like stop myself because I'm just like, I can't do that. I cannot be responsible for discourse.
Yeah. So do you delete critical critical's fine, but like nasty comments, is that something you just like just they're gone?
Yeah.
And okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. No shame about that. I have a lot of filters. YouTube has really great like auto filter settings. You can filter certain words out. I have like 300 plus keywords in there on various hateful things people have said about me that I just like, all right, if someone leaves a comment and it got through the filter, add that keyword, like new keyword to the list.
Now I'm so curious about that list. It looks like most of the comments, I'm just going through the comments now, that the people seem really supportive of you, and they seem to just respond to someone being authentic and genuine. And I just wanted to point that out because, coming as a beginner to all this stuff, you think that you got to have like Michael Bay type explosions or something. Like, how are people going to be interested in what I'm showing?
Yeah.
And you're sort of just being real. You're like, hey, I'm having trouble with this, or I'm here's something I learned. And everybody's like, oh, they just seem to be in it with you instead of needing to be entertained by you. Which is an interesting distinction, I guess. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think people want to be seen. They want to be understood. They want to like see a reflection of themselves and be told that everything's going to be okay, or that like it's not actually as apocalyptic of a scenario as I think it is, and they're going to come out of it fine. And I hope to give that to them the best I can.
Yeah, seems like you're doing a great job of it. I mean, with the growth you're having, especially so rapidly.
Thank you.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
Do you have any more questions, Lee? I got sort of a closer question.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I guess it's this. What's the thing you most enjoy about your career right now? And what's the thing that's the biggest drag, I guess?
I love the flexibility. The flexibility is amazing. The idea of like, I know that when I listed out all the stuff that I was doing, that probably seemed like very overwhelming to you. But to me, like bare minimum, all I have to do is one YouTube video a week. One YouTube video, depending what that is, that could take me anywhere from 5 hours to like 3 days to 3 weeks, whatever. But that's not all active time. And a lot of the time, the longer videos, the reason they take a long time is I have to make art. So a lot of my day, my week is just like, I'm getting out of bed at 10 a.m. I sit at my desk at 11 a.m. I have lunch. I start painting. I watch YouTube for 8 hours. I film that process. I wake up the next day. I do the same thing over and over again. And if I have to take 2.5 weeks off because there's family stuff or I get sick, I can do that. And no one's going to fire me. And that's amazing. The idea of like, I could work from anywhere conceivably with an internet connection and decent lighting. That's
cool.
That flexibility to me is just unparalleled. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So what's the biggest drag of what your career, I guess, what you got going on right now?
The biggest drag is that there is actually no clear path to like success. That everything that I have to do, I have to think long and hard about. My success is entirely up to me. There is no one telling me what to do, but there's also no one telling me what to do. There's no one telling me what success looks like, which means that all of the strategy has to come from me. And if I get sidetracked by the numbers or I fall into a creative rut, I have to get myself out of that. No one's going to help me.
That's awesome.
And also, I have to pay for my own healthcare. That sucks.
Yeah, that one's brutal.
We just, we're adding up what we paid last year for taxes, and yeah. Well, Kelsey, this has been amazing. This has been a real treat. We thank you so much for like giving us a chunk of your afternoon today. Really do appreciate that.
It was great talking to you guys.
Cool. We'll wrap it up there.
She's an intermediate talent. I mean, she says as much, but it just feels weird saying that.
Yeah, she's on her journey. She's on her journey. But normally we're interviewing, Kazu or like all these different people who are, super high up in the art world. She's a true intermediate. I mean, a lot of people have achieved a lot more in their art career. That's why I was sort of asking about the distinction. But man, she made it all work. And it proves that you don't have to be a Loish to make this kind of thing. We think like, oh, Loish is great because she figured out the social media side, but she's also a prodigy level artist. Right.
And you don't have to be. That's the big light bulb is like, I've got, like I said, like the light bulb went on. I got 27 years of books, 15 years of pro teaching at the college level. And and then I'm still like, what's my YouTube going to be about? Oh, it's what am I drawing today? Like,
I think that's like Gen X. That is Gen X thinking right there. Like,
that's amazing what she has done and how she's pieced it all together so quickly. I mean, my YouTube videos are older than when she started.
Right.
That's that kills me.
Right. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. And if you look at all her videos, they've got such a clear like aesthetic to them. Like she's got the font dialed in, she's got the color dialed in, the warmth. It's just like the focus on the camera and whatnot. It's really good.
Right. Yeah, super solid.
Really good. All right. So just as a reminder, if you missed it at the beginning, Kelsey's website is kelseyrodriguez.com, and you do the same search on YouTube. You'll find her YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us today. SVSLearn, or 3-Point Perspective, is made possible by SVSLearn. We're becoming a great Illustrator starts. And your people today have been Will Terry, Lee White, and Jake Parker. Will Terry's actually out he's sick. He had a sick day today. He wasn't feeling good. So it was just me and Lee. And you can find us over at leewhiteillustration.com and mrjakeparker.com. Special thanks to keeper of the curriculum, Austin Shirtliff, Shownotes Wrangler, Lily Howell, and Chief Operations Officer, Lisa Fott, and also our podcast producer, Daniel too. So I think that's it. Now go draw something.